soundness, and parched grass. All comes from this palm of hand, opened, which it tames to subdue unto authority, and by palm of hand, by this bind, leading and teaching, staff to protect and control toward protection, also, like all, entirely, and proceeding, due to this, palm of hand, taming and subduing, this hand from this arm, thrust, handiwork, and deed, one physically observes, also like for, if, when, surely, indeed, if not, currently, living, existing inside this tent wall, storing and containing womb, this blowing, and divided of and by this chief, power, and ox, also like to miss forfeiting, led astray, missed this mark, missed this way, if ever away from this blowing mouth, command, facing this front and divided of this, pressed, and repeating with an eye to see, watch, and heed, thus experience so to understand cover, also like transgress, quarrel, offend, if ever to try to break away, and if ever not from this anointed tent peg, to join with, add, if any outside of this tent wall, separated from division of this shield, pierced, support, prop, with thorn in this hand of this staff, to hold on to, grab, established, also for it to prevent barb, turning all to this head, and person, top man, topmost rule from this beginning, first possession, and inheritance, also like without, life, breath, all of this palm of hand opened, and it too tames to thus allow inside this family house, tent floor plan, and by, with this anointed tent peg, hook to secure, add, fix, join things through this tent door, pathway, to move for entry, also like glory, honor, splendor, wealth, weight, copiousness, of this arm, and hand, thrust, handiwork, deed, all to physically observe, and of this anointed tent peg to hook, to secure, to behold, and look at breath, life, and this breath of life revealed in man, also like Yahweh. Oxen, strengths, leaders of you, of this chief, and ox, mark of this signed covenant, identification of people, place, and thing, strength, which to look at, and to behold life, breath, and this breath of life revealed in man, also like you, in and of this chief and ox, of this mighty, lifted up sea, of this air, sons, sprouting seed, all perpetuation of this Yeshu given kingdom of life, which Yahshah's light shines on, also like to confirm, support, place trust in, have trust, in this family, inside this family house, in and of this tent floor plan, surrounded, and contained with blowing inside this tent wall, also like trust, rely, feel confident, have confidence, feel secure. All things come from and proceed, due to and for this palm of hand, taming and subduing, and this hand, from this arm, thrust, handiwork, and deed, to physically observe, also like for, if, when, surely, indeed, for this chief and ox, of and in this tent wall, inside, and this tent door, pathway by and through which to move for entry, also like one, single, first, alone, unity. Look at this life, breath, revealed, this arm, and hand, thrust, hand, handiwork, deed revealed, and life, breath in man, also like exists, came, come, came to pass, occur, takes place. Life, breath, and this breath of life revealed in man, this arm and hand, deed, all to physically observe. Life, breath, and this breath of life revealed in man, anointed tent peg to fix, add, and join to life. Breath also like Y she yesh, stored and contained by this blowing as a womb, and added, fixed, connected to this anointed tent peg, hooked to secure, to this family house, tent floor plan, also like good, pleasantly, agreeably, beneficially, beautiful, best, better, bountiful, cheerful, at ease, fair, favor, fine, glad, goodly, graciously, joyful, kindly, loving, merry, pleasant, precious, prosperity, ready, sweet, wealth, welfare, well-favored, you have, an eye to see, you experience, watching to heed, so to understand cover, divided and pressed from, facing frontward to life, breath, and this breath of life revealed in man, also like to do, make, accomplish, of this mouth, word, and word of this mouth, blowing, and to speak as a sword, command, to see, experience this cover, staff, goal, control toward authority, and controlling toward authority, protection, bind and binding, leading and teaching, also like to do, practice, work, workman. Those, any, if ever, still not connected to this anointed tent peg, hooked to secure, added and fixed, to life, breath, and to look at this breath of life in man, if and or when any, all if not divided from this door, facing frontward to this door. Pathway, tent door, lowered, also like unclean spirit, to deal violently with, despoil. Anything at all, if ever, for whatever reason, not divided, pressed from, and, repeating, this eye, cover. Anything, if ever not, with an eye to see, experience, watching, and heeding to understand cover. This appearance of this arm, this, and this hand, handiwork, thrust, and deed of this head and person, all of this topmost rule from this beginning, inheritance and first possession, also like goat, sin offering, rough, from this chief, and ox, in and of this mighty, lifted up sea, lifted up, of this air, sprouting seed, sons to continue this kingdom of life, also like confirm, support, trust, have faith in, to build up, foster, nurse, firmness, permanence, quiet, true, certain, only in this family house, tent floor, plan surrounded, and contained by, with blowing inside this tent wall, also like trust, to trust, rely, have confidence, feel secure, security, and in this, just in this anointed tent peg, hook to secure, hooked, connected, thus fixed and added, and if ever not of, to this arm and hand, thrust, handiwork, and deed, of and this head, and person, top man, topmost rule from this beginning, inheritance and possession, chief and ox, also like fear, revere. All only comes from this massive, mighty, lifted up sea, blood, arm, and hand thrust, handiwork and deed, to physically observe, also like who, whoever, whom, what, any, and all if not to look, looking at life, breath, and this breath of life revealed in man. From this arm, this thrown hand, handiwork, and deed, to physically observe of life and breath, also like exists, exist, come, came to pass. This, if, then always from this palm of hand, subduing and taming, which allows this food, feeding, and this crown, made ready, to, also, overturn, of, and in this family house, tent floor plan. Therefore if, and always, not from this palm of hand, taming, tamed, then not allowed to weapons, cut, and shaken, not in this house, also like liar, falsehood, deceit, untruth, if ever, then definitely, always, if not facing frontward, divided to this front, sun on this horizon, sun, day, line, gathering to this father, head, and person, top man, and topmost rule from this beginning, first possession and inheritance, also like falsehood, lie, deceit, a sham, as of only this chief, and ox, of this massive lifted up sea, and lifted up blood to lift up, otherwise not, also like if, whether, though, if ever, any ox, if ever, not of this chief, and ox, authority, goal, staff, control toward this and protection, this bind, leading and teaching, also like not, no, do not, nothing, a staff with no chief, authority, power, a staff, goal, control toward no protection, a yoke of no teaching, without leadership, this leader, chief, also like no, not, this, as a man, existence without life, breath, and this breath of life revealed in man, of, and to, this palm of hand, which opened to tame and subdue, taming and allowing, to allow from this tent wall inside, and divided, pressed, repeated, sharpened, that if they still outside go inside, by facing this front also like if ever to lie, fail, deny, disown, if ever to dare, daring to from this massive, mighty, lifted up sea, blood to lift up this chief, ox, shield, pierced support, and thorn in this hand of this staff, established, and this establishment to grab a hold of, to, which can, does turn, prevent hate, barb, also like reject, despise, refuse, abhor, that from this palm of hand, taming and subduing, allowed and allowing, if ever, for whatever reason, not this arm, hand, handiwork thrust, and deed to physically observe, also like for, when, if, surely, indeed, of this arm, this hand, thrust deed, anointed tent peg, hook to secure, divided from this front, pressed, repeated and sharpened, to face one's frontward, to join and connect, give, let them have an eye to see, experience to watch thus heed understanding, cover, also like Joshua, Yahusha, as if ever, not of this goal, staff, with control toward authority, bind, to protect, this ox to lead, teach to, and of this chief, also like if ever not, to look, behold life, breath, and breath given to, revealed breath in man from this arm, this thrust, hand and deed, to physically observe, also like come, came to pass, exist, happen, take place, arise, arose, arisen, accomplished, committed, finished, altogether. This, in existence, this breath, life, breath of life revealed in man from this massive, lifted up sea and blood, to face one's frontward, facing frontward, divided of this arm, this hand, thrust, deed, from inside this tent wall to bring one's inside, also like anointed one, Messiah, consecrated person, King of Israel, high priest of Israel. This one, if, when sickled, or by weapon cut off from this crown, harvest, food, feed, beholding life, breath, life and breath revealed, also like that, if ever, then always, not to behold life, breath, and this breath of life revealed in man, arm, hand, handiwork, deed to physically observe breath and life, also like exist, exists, turns out, comes, came to pass. This, if ever, a mark, sign, identification of a people, place, and thing, if and ever separated outside this tent wall. Covenant, sign, and strength, identification of people, place, thing, also like under, beneath, in place of, this massive, mighty, lifted up sea. Blood, to face one's frontward, one facing frontward of this arm. Hand, thrust handiwork. Deed, from inside this tent wall to bring one's inside, also like anointed one, as if any other, ever, absolutely, at all of this massive, lifted up sea. Blood, not at all pressed and divided, repeated, and sharpened by and from this arm, this hand, hand thrust, handiwork indeed to physically observe, thus to go inside this tent wall, that one, then pole broken, not facing this front, gets consumed, not at all divided from repeating, in this sun, on this horizon. Sun, as day, this line to gather to this Father, and to condense to this head, and person, top man, and topmost rule. First possession and inheritance, also like falsehood, lie, deceptions, sham, trying, and if or if ever from this palm of hand, subduing, thus not allowing inside this tent wall, not facing this front, frontward, pressed and divided, repeated, and sharpened from this, also like lie, try to deny, untruth in word or deed, if not from this massive lifted up sea, blood, to lift up those and this chief, through this ox, to strength, this leader, power, blowing, surrounding and storing in this womb, also like to refuse, abhor, try to despise this life, breath, and breath of life of this chief, chief of this ox, strength, leader, power of this family, family house, tent floor plan, also like father, and this anointed tent peg, hook to secure, thus connection to join and fix things of and to this family, family house, and tent floor plan, inside, it and this heir thereof, of this Waiha given kingdom of life, also like son, descendant, build to build, of this family, family house, tent floor plan, head, person, top man, topmost rule, first possession and inheritance from this beginning, also like air, field, grain, pure, choice, clean, clear.